Hey guys, I thought I would do a little nutrition lesson from the greenhouse this morning about carbs, because we all talk about carbs, good carbs, bad carbs, no carbs, keto diet, blah, blah, blah. First of all, let's talk about what carbs are. So we have three macronutrients in our diet, right? So we have fat, we have protein, and we have carbs. So if what you're eating isn't a fat, and if what you're eating is not a protein, then it's automatically a carb, or majority of it is a carb. Sometimes, like, we have fat and protein in meat, but for simplicity's sake, carbs are, your typical grains, pasta, rice, but also all your vegetables. So you have your starchy carbs like potatoes and sweet potatoes and carrots and all your root veg, but also all the rest of your fruits and vegetables, your leafy greens, your broccoli, they're all carbs as well. So one of my pet peeves is when people say, I don't eat carbs. Well, if you're not eating carbs, then you're not eating any fruits and vegetables, which have all your vitamins and nutrients and minerals in them for all your enzymatic production in your body. So, you got to eat your fruits and vegetables. Anyway, so I'm currently listening to a book called Fast Carb, Slow Carb. And it's not necessarily the carb you're eating, it's how you are digesting that carb and where in your digestive tract you are digesting that. So if we eat what the author calls fast carbs, which are the carbs that are highly processed, flours, sugar, even potatoes, mashed potatoes or baked potato or whatever. Everybody has a different sensitivity to these things, but in general, these fast carbs that digest very quickly, they start digesting in your mouth with an enzyme called amylase, and then they're broken down further in your stomach, and then it is your small intestine that has three parts. So it has the duodenum, it has the jejunum, and then it has the ileum. And those three parts are where your food is absorbed into your bloodstream. So at each one of those stages, there is an a hormone that is produced that tells you that you're full. So when we eat a lot of these fast carbs on top of each other without having anything with fiber in it, a lot of that digestion happens in your mouth. The stomach doesn't have to work very hard, and when it gets into that very first part of your intestine, your small intestine, called the duodenum or duodenum, however you want to pronounce it, there is a hormone that's produced that's called GIP. Now that will tell your insulin to spike, and it'll tell your liver or your muscles to absorb that sugar for energy, or if you don't need it, it will go into your fat cells. And then if it's fully digested, that's the end of it. When we eat something that has more digestion to be done, like fiber, because fiber is not digested by that first part of your intestine, it's actually digested in your large intestine. It has to go further down that chain. And so when it gets into the bottom of your small intestine, which is called the ileum, and the jejunum is the middle part, and that's where the majority of your absorption of your nutrients is had. Okay, so when the digestion happens there, when your food actually makes it that far before it's absorbed, there is a hormone produced called GLP-1, and that will give a signal to your brain to tell you that you are full. The GIP hormone in the upper part of your the upper part of your digestive system, or the upper part of your small intestine, will send a signal to your brain telling you to keep eating because, wow, that was amazing. It absorbed that sugar so fast and I want more of it. But when it gets to the bottom of that, when you have some fiber in your diet and you're not eating fast carbs, you're eating the slow carbs, which are your leafy greens, your broccoli, beans, lentils, all those things high in fiber. They're a lot harder to break down. They get down to that bottom section of, or that middle section of your intestine, and then it gives off that hormone that tells you, hey, I'm full, I don't need to eat anymore. And the beauty of eating stuff high in fiber is that fiber cannot be broken down by any enzyme in our body. The only way that the fiber can be broken down is to go into your large intestine, and the bacteria in our microbiome ferments that fiber and breaks it down. So in essence, what we're doing by eating fiber is feeding our microbiome. And I'm sure all of you, regardless of what your interests are in nutrition, have heard about the microbiome and how important that microbiome is to feed our microbiome. So what essentially I'm trying to tell you is that if you eat a highly refined diet with no vegetables or very little vegetable, you're never feeding your microbiome. And the microbiome now in the last decade has been linked, a poor, non-biodiverse microbiome has been linked to almost all of the chronic illnesses that we have. Heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, dementia, all of them. And obesity. Your microbiome has a lot to do with obesity. So what we need to make sure we're doing is, especially if we're going to eat some of those slow carbs, is to make sure you get if we're going to eat some of those fast carbs, those highly processed carbs, we need to be making sure that we're eating a lot of slow carbs prior to that, so that we're feeling satiated and we're getting that fiber into our lower gut, into our large intestine and our colon, so that fermentation is happening and we're feeding our microbiome. So anyways, the book I'm listening to right now is called Fast Carb, Slow Carb. It's a really interesting read, interesting listen. I've decided to go to audiobooks because I just don't have time to read anymore. But anyways, it's really fascinating to me. And that's just kind of a simple version of what this guy's saying in the book about what we're eating and how it's causing us to continually be hungry, because we're never getting to that satiation point, because we're never hitting those hormones. All of our nutrients are being absorbed before it's getting to that point where that hormone is released that tells us we're full. So that's why we can eat, 3 bags of chips or 4 donuts or whatever without ever feeling full. Because all it's telling our brain is, wow, that sugar's amazing. It's hitting those opioid receptors and telling us, let's keep eating it. So anyways, just thought I'd pass that on. A little nutrition from the greenhouse this morning. So if you like this video, please subscribe. Please hit the like below, hit subscribe, and share this to your friends. And maybe we can all learn to eat a little bit better, especially in this day of COVID, because I've also read some reports on how people with a much better microbiome are faring much better with this virus that we're dealing with right now. So take care, stay safe, stay home.